What is going on, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Louisiana Outdoorsman. Today we are taking it from the house, as you guys voted and requested when I did the poll whether we should do a cooking video or a live stream. Like 85 to 90% of y'all voted for me to do a cooking video. So that is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do another authentic Cajun dish. You guys have seen me make a rice and gravy before. This time it's somewhat similar, but we are, instead of doing a brown gravy, we're going to be doing a red gravy, or as is known down here in South Louisiana, I'm going to do a sauce piquant. And what that is basically, like I said, a red gravy with some type of a sauce piquant. Some people get it confused with a coubillon, but the sauce piquant you normally make with a heavier type of meat, sausage, chicken. I rarely see it done with beef, not with beef much. It's mostly chicken and rabbit, squirrel, stuff like that. The coubillon, however, is most of your seafood, shrimp, fish, stuff like that. So that's the difference. I'm going to be making a chicken sauce piquant this afternoon. I got majority of my items that I need to make it right here. But once I strap this onto my chest, I'm gonna do the full layout of what I'm gonna use and how I season my chicken and all the good stuff step by step, and so you guys can know how exactly to make a sauce piquant like me. So you guys stay tuned. I'm gonna strap this on my chest and we'll get to cooking. Alright guys, first of all we're gonna start. We have some chicken thighs. You can use whatever type of chicken you want. I like thighs. It's not as dry as breast meat or anything like that. Normally I would get the bone-in chicken thighs, but due to the stores being a bit over shopped right now, bone-in chicken isn't readily available as it normally is, so we have to use boneless today. I like bone-in a little bit better due to the fact I think it holds more flavor than boneless chicken, but you could use whatever. It doesn't really make that much of a difference. But we're gonna put our chicken all in a bowl. Some people trim their chicken. I don't. I like to, except for maybe this, because this is a bit much of chicken fat. Just going to trim that little piece off. But like I said, normally I don't trim my chicken, but this one has an umpteenth amount of fat on it. So I'm going to trim that a little bit, put that all in my bowl. So what you're going to want to do, I always like to have one hand to pour the seasoning and one hand to actually mix the chicken. That way I can add seasoning as it goes without having to wash my hands every time, because I don't want to touch raw chicken then touch my seasoning containers, and then that's going to have raw chicken all over it. So first thing I'm going to add, which every Cajun dish has, is a little bit of Tony Chachere's. Don't be shy with your seasonings. I've said that in my rice and gravy video as well. I have a little bit of onion powder, not too much because it's pretty strong seasoning, so sprinkle it on a little bit. Then you can have some garlic powder. You can lay that on decently heavy as well. Put that to the side. A little bit of cayenne pepper for some spice. Don't want to go too heavy-handed on that, because if you go too heavy-handed on the cayenne, it will come back to bite you, trust me. And then a little bit of regular salt. Don't put too much salt, because your Tony's already has some salt in it. Now what you're going to do is just take your hand and you're just going to want to mix it up. Make sure the chicken gets a nice even coating of seasoning on the front and back sides of it. It's going to take a few times to season these to get everything covered. So like I said, you just want to season as you go. Like that's the good thing about having your mixing hand and your seasoning hand. You can go between each one. So like I say, you just add season as you go. I don't measure nothing, and anybody that cooks Louisiana dishes will tell you you don't measure nothing either, unless you try to cook something very specific. But there's really no no measuring spoons or bowls or cups or anything like that. You just season by eye, and for cooking so long, you just basically know about how much to add, or you know about what how much seasoning your palate likes. So Like I said, you'll get this chicken nice and seasoned up to where all sides are nice and evenly coated. They got seasoning, as you can tell, on both sides. You don't want it super seasoned, but you want enough season to where it covers the chicken for the most part on all sides. So I'm gonna leave that right here because the meat's not actually gonna get added until probably about 30 minutes into cooking this dish. So I'm gonna put the chicken back in the refrigerator to keep it cool, and I'm gonna move on to the next step of this process. So the next step is what you're gonna wanna do. You're gonna take a little bit of olive oil, or you can use regular vegetable oil, it doesn't matter. Put it in your pot. You're not gonna want too much of it, but just enough, because what we're gonna do now to begin this actual dish is we're gonna cook down our tomato paste. So you're gonna wanna take, I know I'm gonna use a big can, a little can. This one's 12 ounces, and they have the little can of 6 ounces, and you want to use tomato paste, not tomato sauce. A lot of people get those confused, but you'll end up with a whole lot. I'm gonna put this in the refrigerator because I actually forgot. But like I said, you're gonna want to use tomato paste and not sauce. It will make a huge difference. Once your oil or grease gets hot, whichever one you use, you're gonna want to take your tomato paste, if I can get it open. Take your tomato paste and you're gonna want to put it, also you're cooking your tomato paste down on medium heat. Whatever medium is on your stove, that's what you want to cook it down. You don't want to cook it super fast, but you want it to where it'll somewhat brown your tomato paste. So like I said, you don't want it too hot because then you'll just scorch it and burn it. But you don't want it too low to where it just sits there and does nothing. Because what you're going to want to do, you're going to want to cook the tomato paste down for 2 reasons: for consistency, and also so nobody gets heartburn and you cook some of that acid out of the tomato paste. So like I said, once you got your tomato paste in, I'm sorry about the noise, it's the vent on. I got to turn the vent on to make sure. Once you got your tomato paste in there and cooking down, what you're going to want to add is some regular sugar. I use probably about anywhere from probably about 4 of these regular little plastic spoons. I don't know if you consider that a teaspoon. 4 of those spoons. That's to, like I said, neutralize some of that acid that's in that tomato paste, and it helps cook down the tomato paste at the same time. So I'm gonna use 3, being that I'm using heaping teaspoons of this sugar. So like I said, I'm gonna put that in there. And you're going to want to make sure that you're stirring this once every probably couple of minutes or so, because you don't want it to start burning or scorching down on the stove. So it takes a while to cook this down. So it's kind of one of those things that you got to be patient with. You can't rush this type of cooking. So you can't rush cooking down tomato paste. If you do, everybody that's about to eat your meal is about to get heartburn. Or whoever has acid reflux is about to pay. So you're gonna want to make sure you cook this down, and you'll know when it's cooked down enough, because one, it'll stop, because when you start first cooking this down, you'll notice this tomato paste has a very vinegary smell. Once it's cooked down enough, you're gonna notice that vinegary smell has mostly subsided and went away. And then also this tomato paste is gonna get a darker red color and not bright red like it is now. So I'm gonna cook this down. I don't want to bore you guys and take up a lot of time for you guys to watch this cook down. So like I said, I'm gonna cook this down for about 15, 20, maybe 20, probably 25 minutes, somewhere around that time. And I'll get back to you guys once it's cooked down to show you all the next step. All right, while our tomato paste is still cooking down, we are going to heat up a side pan, and we are gonna brown our chicken in this side pan right here. So you're gonna put the same olive oil that you did in the pot, and we're gonna brown our chicken. And what that does, it seals in all the juices and the flavors within the chicken, instead of just dropping it in the water and all the seasoning just leaves the chicken the minute it drops in there. So we're gonna brown this chicken, and I'm gonna show you the guys next step once the chicken's all brown, everything like that. All right, now that our pan is hot, our oil is hot, we're going to brown the chicken. This is browning chicken. You're not gonna fully cook it in this pan. You're gonna finish cooking in this pot right here. So you want to make sure that the pot is hot. That way when you put it on, you're gonna have some sizzling. I probably should have did this in about a 2-quart saucepan, but we're gonna make this work for now. Only can fit about 3 chickens on there, but I think there's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about 7 to 8 pieces in there, so it's not gonna take too long to actually brown all this chicken, because the browning process takes about 2 minutes per side of the chicken, so it's not gonna take much long. So I'll get back with you guys once this chicken is flipped, and I'll show you what it looks like on the other side. All right, these chickens been cooking on here for about 2 minutes per this side, so when we flip these over, it should be a nice golden brownish color on there. It shouldn't be burnt. It shouldn't be like super dark brown. It should be a nice golden brown tannish color on the other side. So we'll give it a flip, and as you can tell, nice golden brown, and that's what you want to see when browning chicken, or browning anything actually, chicken, pork chops, beef, whatever. You don't want to see it burnt. You just want to see that golden brown, and it's got a little crispy texture to it. If you can actually feel the outside crispiness on it. So that's exactly what you want when you brown it. So like I said, I got all of this chicken to brown. I'm gonna brown all of this, and I'm gonna get back with you guys once we finish browning it, and we're gonna show you guys the next step. All right guys, my chicken is still browning, but my tomato paste has been cooking down for about a good 20 to 25 minutes right now. I'm smelling it right now. The vinegar smell is completely gone. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna add my liquid to the tomato paste. Being that we are cooking a chicken sauce piquant, I'm gonna put one of these containers of chicken broth just for actual flavor, and the rest is gonna be just regular water. So I'm gonna go ahead and pour my chicken stock directly into the pot here. Make sure you coat the whole thing. All right, now that that's poured in, I'm gonna take my spoon and I'm gonna kind of break up to make sure that, and scrape to make sure nothing sticks to the bottom. And this tomato paste is gonna cook down into the water once it starts to boil and stuff like that. So I'm actually turning up the heat to a little past medium. That way we can bring this to a nice simmer or boil to cook down this tomato paste. Now, there's a lot of different ways to cook a sauce piquant. I mean, there's literally so many ways. But let me take this set of chicken off before I end up burning this, trying to talk to you guys, and I'll hop up on the camera after I take this chicken off. All right, now that our chicken is off, before this all starts to burn, we are going to take our Guidry's mix, which is just celery, onion, bell pepper, and we are going to throw it on this skillet. And you're going to want to cook this down. Yes, it's going to be a lot of steam, because now that all the water from the vegetables are hitting the hot pan, everything is going to ooh, got me real quick. Everything is going to start to cook down, and you're going to want to simmer these onions down and scrape all the bits of the chicken that's stuck to the hot pan. You're going to want to scrape that with your spoon and get all that flavor and mix it all with the onions and everything. So I'm going to show you guys real quick what it's going to look like, and we'll get to cooking these down. So you're just going to take your spoon, and as you can see, some of these onions on the edge are that brownish color. That's because they've soaked up majority of the seasoning and the little crispy bits that came off the chicken. And that's what you want. You want them onions to soak up the flavor. That way when you put it in your liquid, all those flavors will transfer over and you're not going to lose any of that. But it shouldn't take long for these onions to cook down, maybe about, I don't know, about 10 minutes or so. And this should be nice and a soft consistency and soak up all of the flavors that was in this pan. So I'm going to cook these down, and I'm going to give it to you guys when the next step comes up. So while those onions are cooking down, I'm going to kind of explain to you guys why I said there are a lot of ways to cook this dish. Well, not many ways, but a lot of varieties that people use. Like I said, I use the method to where I cook down my tomato paste by itself first. Excuse me. Some people actually cook down a roux first, and then cook their tomato paste and onions together down. I will use roux in this dish, but I'm not gonna cook my own from flour from scratch like some people do. I'm gonna just use a tablespoon of jar roux that a lot of people down in South Louisiana use, because I'm not gonna cook a whole roux just for the small amount that I need for this dish. But like I said, a lot of people cook their roux first, then we'll cook their onions on the side, stuff like that. Some people won't even brown their chicken like I did. Some people will just throw their chicken into the liquid raw and let it boil and cook down within all the ingredients. Like I said, there's a lot of variations, because a lot of these recipes, and the reason is a lot of these recipes aren't in a cookbook. A lot of these recipes are handed down from, generations down. So little tweaks here and there have been made. Some people learn different from their families. So just like I'm putting my spin variation on how my mom taught me how to cook, that's just how it's going to be turned down and passed down to my kids. They might tweak it a little bit and cook a little bit different. Who knows? It's always different. But that's just the way these dishes are cooked. And also, being that these recipes are passed down from generation to generation, the reason in the beginning I said that there's going to be, and the reason this title says Cajun, is because a lot of people who aren't from South Louisiana just assume that all the cooking that we do down here is Cajun style cooking. But in turn, most of these tomato based dishes, especially like a sauce piquant or courgette, a lot of those are actually what we deem Creole cooking down here. A lot of people get those mixed up, Creole, Cajun. It's just different styles of cooking, the way you cook it and stuff like that. And like I said, a lot of that is passed down through word of mouth and generations, or watching other people cook and asking questions. Basically like I did. That's how I grew up and learned how to cook. So like I said, different variations. If you guys want to make a tweak to this recipe, you ain't got to follow this to the T. You can twist it up however you want, as long as you stay and use the similar ingredients. It'll come out basically the same. So don't take this recipe to heart, step for step and word for word, and just make your own way and make your own recipe and have fun with it while you're cooking. That's the best advice that I can give you. But I'm gonna strap this back to my chest and show you guys and finish up how to cook this, and we'll make sure it comes out tasting good. Stay tuned. Alright, our onions have been cooking down here for about 10 minutes or so. As you can tell, they are not the same color or texture or consistency when we first put them in there. They are nice and cooked down and browned, all in the tasty chicken bits that were left behind, and the seasoning that was left behind by the chicken I had browned. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to put this, all the onions and bell peppers and stuff, into the tomato paste and oil. Now it's all combined, because now that the water is at a simmer, that tomato paste has since melted, and now we got a nice consistent red gravy going. So like I said, I'm gonna turn this off. I'm gonna put these onions like so here in the pot. Put that to the side. I'm not gonna put it on the hot burner, because then it's gonna cook down and we're really gonna have some burnt stuff. I'm just gonna mix that around. And what I'm about to do is I'm going to add my chicken back to this. Once it gets to another simmering roll. Also, you're gonna want to add, you can or not, I tend to add the original, 1 can of original Rotel. So I'm gonna open that up, drain a little bit of the juice that was in there, and then we're going to, most of the Rotel is just canned diced tomatoes with a little bit of spice in there. So like I said, we're just gonna kind of sprinkle that in there. You can actually put your Rotel in with your onions while you're cooking it down. I choose not to. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Like I said, this recipe isn't in any cookbook or word for word or step for step. It's a go as you learn basis. So I'm gonna put that in there. I'm gonna wait till this comes to a little bit of a rolling boil, and I'm gonna add my chicken. One step that I almost forgot to tell you guys is, now that this is kind of almost to a simmering boil, being that I want this to be a thicker gravy, like I said, some people actually start from scratch and make a small roux in the beginning to finish this. However, we are going to be using a jar roux, which is Savoise. You can get this at majority of your stores as long as you live somewhere in the South, or you could probably order this online maybe. But a Savoise roux, you're going to want to use 1 tablespoon of this. It's just a regular dark roux. So I'm going to go ahead and scoop out a heaping tablespoon. I said a heaping tablespoon of this roux. I'm gonna put this in there. You can put this in there whole. Once this water gets to a boil, it will break that roux down and it's not gonna be chunky or anything like that. So like I said, I'm gonna let this now get to a rolling boil, cook down that roux, and then the next step I will add my chicken, but I will get back with you guys once that's ready. All right, let's see what we're working with now. It has come to a nice rolling boil. Let's see if all that roux is gone. And I do believe it is. So as you can tell, it has gotten a little bit darker. Some of that is with that roux. And that's what you want. You want a kind of darker gravy. This is also going to cook. You want this a little bit thicker than this, but it's going to cook. That has a lot left to cook down. But it's still got a nice thick consistency right now, which I like. A thick-ish. Now I'm going to add the chicken, and very, very important, just like when I did my rice and gravy video. So I'm going to put the chicken in just to show you guys one by one, because I want to show you guys what I'm talking about here. That's it. Put the chicken in. Chicken, and you can tell the chicken is still nice and juicy, so that's what you want. And like I said, to show you guys what I'm talking about, like I did with my pork chops when I was cooking my rice and gravy with smothered pork chops, all this nice 100% flavor juice, you want to pour that right back into it. That's nice chicken stock from the chicken that sweated the juices out. So you want to put the juices back in your dish, put that to the side. Gonna throw that in a little bit and just stir this to get that chicken nice and mixed in there. And from here on out, the best thing about this type of cooking, it's pretty labor intensive when you start, but once you get to this step and put your chicken in, you literally just check on it every 20 minutes or so to make sure nothing crazy is happening. Put it on a medium to high heat, and to where it just has that nice little rolling boil and is burning off some of that water in there and cooking it down. But other than that, you put your spoon down, put your mitt down, and you can relax and let this cook down. And I will get with you guys once this is cooked down for about an hour or so, and I'll give you guys a check-in. All right, guys, it has been about an hour. Actually been a little bit over an hour, and it is cooking down nicely, I should say. Let's have a look here. Also, as this is cooking down, what you need to do is monitor it and taste it every so often. That way you can add seasoning, aka that's why I got my seasoning there. I've been tasting all along, adding seasoning as need, but you can tell it's getting a nice darker red. It's not that bright blood red that it was earlier. It's getting a little bit darker. It's probably not gonna get much darker than this, but it has been getting a little bit thicker. As you can tell, it pours out a little bit slower than it was earlier. So that's what we want. We're probably gonna cook it down about another, I guess maybe another inch out the pot. And it'll also thicken up from there. I'll add seasoning as I need, but I don't need too much from here on out. But I will bring it back one more time once I get everything in the plate and show you guys what the full finished product is going to be, or what it looks like. So you guys stay tuned, and you're about to see a delicious chicken sauce piquant plated up here shortly. Stay tuned. All right, guys, we have reached the final product. We got, we'll move this over. We got the rice finished cooking in the rice pot, and we got the nice chicken sauce. Look how thick this sauce is now. And that chicken is all just falling apart. It's so tender. We are about to, I mean, that's about as nasty as food gets, I tell you that much. But I hope you guys did enjoy. I hope you guys learned something, take something away. Comment down below if you cook it a different way or whatnot. But I'm about to eat me some of that good sauce piquant over some rice and stuff myself till I can't stuff myself no more. But as always, I'm gonna try to get back on the water as soon as possible, guys. And maybe do some brim fishing here shortly, or maybe get on some more catfish. But like I said, hope you guys enjoy. Stay tuned for another episode of Louisiana Outdoorsman.